Hello and welcome again to the Unit 4, where we're going to deal with joins, subqueries, and aggregations. What we're going to do is to use some useful functionality that we have in the SQL language, which allows us to put two tables in relation and get some data from the two tables at the same time, or also to just get a summing up of a whole column in a table, or to count the number of orders that meet some criteria, or just the subqueries, which are a query inside a query that basically help us to make a little bit more intricate updating or selecting. What I said in the video before about modifying data was important for having always data which is accurate and relevant and fresh, so that you can rely on the data that you have on the database when you're going to do predictions or analysis. So that's why these three commands about delete, insert, and update were important, so that you can always have fresh and accurate data. What I said about lines of actions doesn't always have to do with a database. You of course can make a mass email campaign to a certain area of your business, or you can announce more in another one. It doesn't always have to be that you are updating invoices with a 20% discount. Of course, you can have more to do with something that you do with your website or with the customers that you already have. So once I said this, let's jump into the joins, aggregations, and subqueries, and see how they can help us to view even better our data. So what we are doing now is that we're going to work with the same database, of course, the same database file, and we're going to work with a file called joins. .sql that you will find in your in the channel. Even if it's called joins, we have also aggregations and subqueries inside this file. What this is going to help us with is to make a more accurate, more precise queries based on the kind of information that we want to get. Why is it more precise? Because it can be more complete if I get more data, or data which is related to each other in different tables. Sometimes I don't want to have only the buyer name, for instance, in the results of my select. I also want the VAT number, which is coming from another table, which is not orders data in this case. So how do I join two tables? It's quite easy. The only thing I need to do is to write here the column names that I want to select from both tables, the VAT number, the buyer name, the item total. Then I have to tell to my engine that it is from customers and orders data from both tables at the same time, not just from one. And the condition that has to be met is that the buyer name and the customer name, which are columns from the two tables, are the same. So if we browse in the data, we have customer Sasmita here as a customer name. And if I go to the orders data and I go to buyer name and I write Sasmita, I have buyer name Sasmita. So these two columns have same values, and that's what allows us to get to make a connection between the two tables at the same time, because this buyer name is the customer name. If I run the query, what I get is the VAT number of all these orders where the buyer name is the same as the customer name. So I get 3 for Sasmita because she has 3 orders. But you can see that the VAT number is the same because Sasmita is connected to the customer's table with this VAT number, and it is not repeating. But how can we do if don't want the VAT number to be repeating? We just want it once here. We want once the buyer name, and we want the item total not these 200, 399, 1099. We want all of these together so that I can check in one query the VAT number for Sasmita, the buyer name for Sasmita, and all the sum of all the orders that Sasmita has done. It's easy. What I'm going to use here is called sum, which is going to sum all the orders total, the items total from Sasmita, from all the customers that have the same buyer name, and it's going to place them in only one result. So this 1099 should be like 1600 something. It is the sum of these three item totals. The condition is the same because that is what allows us to make the connection between the two tables. But it's important that we say now the group by VAT number, because this is what allows us to have in only one row, according to the VAT number of the buyer name, the item total in the last column of the results. So if we run it, got some problem. So like this maybe. Syntax error. Like this sum total. So now if we go to Susmita, let's see if we can find her between all this data that we have from this select. Here, Susmita now gets the item total summed up, and it's all grouped around the same VAT number which Susmita has. So this is nice. This is giving us relevant information because now we can have a better overview of what the customers are actually paying and how much. And we can see them grouped around the select, the VAT number. But what happens if we are curious and what we want to know is which is the customer which has placed the highest order? Because maybe we see these summed up amounts, we get a picture of each buyer, but not of how these orders have been, if they were low or they were expensive, if they are like 5 orders at the same time or just one that was very expensive. So the only thing I need to do is to select something called max. Max is going to give me the maximum value found in the item total column in the orders data table. And that max item total is also going to give me the buyer name afterwards, this select. If we run it, getting many errors today, maybe like this. If we run it, we find that Mitra, the buyer name Mitra, is the one that has paid the highest order. And his highest order is from 3,897. So this is giving me some more data, like saying, okay, I have some customers that have paid a lot of money, but I know this Mitra is making real good purchases, so it can be worth to invest in this customer. If I, of course, wanted the max item total with the VAT number, let's just make this like this so we don't get the errors we get before. So we would get, the only thing we need to do is to add the VAT number, and then we get the VAT number from Mitra, as well as his buyer name and the maximum of the orders he has placed. All right, but sometimes we want to go beyond and not just to get the Mitra. We want maybe to get the same functionality, the VAT number, the sum of the item total, not the max this time, the sum, the buyer name from both tables, uh, group by VAT number, but we only want those customers which, after having summed up all the item totals, like before it was submitted with 1600. So after I have summed up the item totals, I want to get those which have more than 1000. So this having is acting more or less like the where with a positive condition, but we use it mostly when we use this kind of aggregations like sum or count or max. So having is another way of saying only the results that have an item total more than 1000 is the ones that I'm interested in. This can of course give us very valuable information. So if we run the query, we get now all the customers that have paid all in all more than 1000 crowns. So very valuable, really very good to know and to filter this way. And what we're doing here is using at the same time joins from different tables and aggregations functions, so like sum or max or count. All right, so that was about the amount that I'm getting, the amount of money that we're having in orders for more than 1,000 per customer. Let us say now that I want to see the number of orders, not the sum of the total amount paid by the customer. I just want to know the number, how many orders are meeting the criteria of having more than 499 as item total, and the data is fresh from 2021 and beyond. Then what I do, sorry, is to use this count, which is also an aggregation function. And the count is going to, doesn't matter if I put item total, if I put buyer name, if I put any other column, because they are all in the same row. And what it's going to give me is one of those instances when the item total is more than 499 and the order date is more than 2021. So count gives us a result, just a number, the amount of orders filling this criteria. Of course, we get some wrong today, something that he doesn't like. Let's see. We run a little bit with this. Yeah. The item total I got from 2021 only 5 orders that are more than 499. That tells me a little bit about how this 2021 year, the year of the pandemic, has been working. So it doesn't look so good. Maybe I should check through the data, which customers are doing better, which are worse, which products, of course, I should invest more my money in. Other insights I can gain is to the minimum maximum in the order rates from 2021. We have seen that we only had 5 orders which were more than 499 from 2021. I want to see which one was the highest order 2021, just to see if, even if it was a bad year, I can see if there were any good orders at all. And of course, we find this one from Mitra, the guy we checked before, which was the most expensive order. And yeah, it has gone well. It means that even if my sellings were doing quite bad, I was only getting five orders. For some reason, I maybe gave a push to a product that was able to have a purchase of 3,897. So maybe it wasn't so bad in all aspects of the marketing. Uh, but there are more aggregating functions that can be very helpful for gaining insights. Another one is the average of the item total. What was the average of all my orders from 2021? Now I don't want the expensive ones. Sorry, I don't want just the more than 499. I don't want to see the highest one. I want to make an average of what was the total, the average of the totals from the orders in this year. So the only thing I need to do is to write the average for the item total with this word AVG, average, and then I'm going to get. Uh, sorry, excuse me, because sometimes it just doesn't want to. So the average is 658, because even if I didn't have so many expensive orders, I did have one which was very expensive. And that one is balancing the average of all the orders in this year. So sometimes it can be good to know that, okay, even if the year has been bad, I got a better average than I thought. If I got the average from Mitra, I would just get the 3,200 or 600 because it's the only order that he has placed. So we don't need to check the average from Mitra. This leads us into the next chapter of the unit, which is the subqueries. We have been checking the joins. We have been checking the aggregation functions. What we need to check now are subqueries. Subqueries is a concept a little bit more abstract. It's going to give us a query inside a query. That is that, for instance, if I make a select for the buyer name from orders data where buyer name is Asmita, I will get as a result of this query, of course, the buyer name Sasmita, because Sasmita is where the buyer name is Sasmita. But I can connect this result from this query Sasmita, and I can say, hey, I want the VAT number, the customer name from customers table, not from orders data table, where the customer name is the result of this select. So the customer name is Sasmita. Check that the customer name is the column of the customers table and the buyer name is the column of the orders data table. So we are selecting from one table and the result is going to be found in the other table. If we just uncomment this, maybe we use this uncommenting function. Oh, it doesn't want it. Maybe the other way around. We just uncomment this like this. Now you can see it more clear. We run it. Yeah. So I get now, as a result, the VAT number of Sasmita and the customer name of Sasmita. Of course, you could say, okay, but wait a minute, I could just have done from customers where customer name is Sasmita. And it would have given me the same result. So you are completely true if you have seen this, because this was just an example of how to use the subqueries, how they work, these subqueries, uh, and the inner functionality that you can find in these subqueries. So we're going to get another example which is a bit more relevant after we know how these subqueries work. And it is that we're going to update this column that I added to the customers table, which is called orders total. And we're going to do an update of the total of one of the customers so that we get final results, uh, all the purchases, all the purchased orders that some customer has done in total. So this is of course going to make easier for us to view through the data and to check which customers are doing better. So what I'm doing now is a subquery where the subquery says select the sum item total, which we saw before, from orders data customers, where buyer name is customer name and the buyer name is Mitra. We are specifying which buyer orders we're going to get the sum item total. We are saying that it has to be the same buyer name and the customer name, so we are making a join. And we are going to update customers table, of course. And we're going to put the orders total column, the set orders total column, with the resulting value from this select sum. The select sum was going to give us the item total, the total amount of purchased money with the orders for the buyer name Mitra. But we are going to update the orders total in the customers table only, of course, where the customer is Mitra, because we want to match the results of the item total from Mitra. We want to match them with the customers table in the orders total column where the customer name is Mitra. So if it sounds a bit complex, just pause the video and try to understand how the logic works. I'm just gonna show you now what it does if we don't get any errors now. Mitra had the add item total. You can just run this query first without updating. If we just run the subquery before without updating anything in the customers table, and we don't get any errors because we know that this file is being a bit delicate right now. Yeah, so Mitra, he had bought for 3,000 crowns in 2021, but the item total of all his orders, all in all, has been 7,794. And that is what I'm getting from this sum query, the item total sum. What I want to do now is to take that sum and put it in the column orders total from the customers table. So if we don't get any syntax error, which I hope, then it says this has finished without errors. There's no result that you can see because we are not only doing a select, we're doing an update, and the result of an update you cannot see. But if I browse the data now and I go to Mitra, of course we have it in the first one, we see that his orders total column has been updated with 7,794. Of course, we could do this with all the customers, and it would be very nice to have that kind of data actualize in the customers table. So that's all for now. Try to run my queries and see if they work for you as well. Of course, you can customize your own queries with this min and max and count and sum, making joins, making subqueries, because now is when you really can get very much profit of this kind of data, this kind of functionality for your analysis. So play around so much as you can and you want with these keywords and commands. And I hope to see you in the next one. Just do the exercises and read the literature in the channel. And I hope to see you in the next one where we're going to apply these commands, these aggregations and joins. We're going to apply them to a more overall perspective of the business. So I hope to see you there. Take care.